right, thank God it's Friday. Good morning and welcome to today's edition of the show Scoreboard in 15, right on 32 FM 94.9. We are broadcasting live from the big brown roof city of Ibadan. Well, today is the 13th day in the 6th month of the year 2025. Well, the countdown to the expanded edition of the FIFA Club World Cup definitely tops the list of all sporting stories. And then we'll discuss about a bit of tennis stories that's on the show this morning, which also includes that's athletic stories. Before we come home to talk about Nigerian sporting stories, and then we talk about the Under-21 European Championship games that went down yesterday. The results of those games for England, they were victorious. For that Belgium, were they victorious in their game? Well, definitely you know about that. For the Super Falcons of Nigeria, yes, you could tell that they are still African number one when we talk about the FIFA rankings. What we talk about on the African scene, but on the world stage, where do they occupy? What position do they occupy there on the world stage? Well, definitely you know about that on today's edition of the show, right here on 32 FM 94.9. And you are listening to the voice of Oluwatimileni SAMIES on the program this lovely Friday morning. Well, it's the build-up to everything we expect to go down also over the course of this weekend, starting from today. But before we go further, we join our partners, the BBC, to take a listen to what they have for us on that front of the BBC Premier League update. And when we come back from that, we'll definitely talk about some other sporting stories making the rounds.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Molly Stevens at the BBC Sports Centre. Tottenham have appointed Brentford boss Thomas Frank as their head coach. The 51-year-old Dane replaces Ange Postecoglou, who was sacked earlier this month despite leading Spurs to victory in the Europa League final last month. Frank has spent 7 years in charge of Brentford, guiding the club from the Championship to the Premier League in 2021. He is Tottenham's fourth permanent manager since June 2021. Here's the BBC's senior football correspondent, Sammy Mockbell.
He signed a contract until 2028. Tottenham have paid a 10 million release clause, we understand, a fixed fee for him, and they've paid extra as well for a number of his staff, including Justin Cochrane, who is also doubles up as England's assistant manager, has also joined Thomas Frank at Tottenham.
Brazil forward Matheus Cunha said his dream had become a reality after completing a £62.5 million move to Manchester United. United activated a release clause in Cunha's Wolves contract this month. Cunha has signed a 5-year contract with the option of a further 12 months. Kevin De Bruyne has completed his move to Napoli after the Belgian midfielder left Manchester City at the end of the Premier League season. De Bruyne will link up with former Chelsea and Tottenham manager Antonio Conte, who is head coach of the Italian champions. England right back Trent Alexander-Arnold described joining Real Madrid as a dream come true and a huge responsibility as he addressed the audience in Spanish at his presentation on Thursday. The 26-year-old would have been able to leave Liverpool on a free transfer at the end of his contract on the 30th of June, but the 15-time European champions Real paid the Reds a fee to release him early so that he could play for them at this month's Club World Cup.
Very, very exciting for me. A day that I've been waiting for a long time now. Very excited, very happy, very proud to be here. It's a dream to be here, but there's still a lot of hard work to do, and I'm excited to get started straight away. It's an exciting time for me.
Brighton have agreed a €35 million deal with Olympiacos for 18-year-old forward Charalambos Kostoulas. The teenager was undergoing a medical with the club on Thursday ahead of signing a 5-year contract that will start on the 1st of July. Here's our football news reporter, Nizar Kinsella.
I've spoken to a lot of people in Greece around this deal, and they're all saying this guy is the real deal. This guy is the best we have at the minute. He's 18 years old, played for the national team. Everyone knew about him there. Olympiacos is the biggest, most powerful team there at the minute as well. Sorry to the other clubs potentially. But he sort of really stands out as a top talent, and I think there was a lot of competition for his signature, but Brighton is a place for young talents that want to go on and do great things, and they've got a proven track record. So I think he'll be hoping he can do what Moises Caicedo did, what Marc Cucurella did, and really use that as a platform to become a great player in his own right as a teenager and into his 20s.
And Crystal Palace shareholder John Textor has received an offer to sell his stake in the club, which could clear the way for the Eagles to compete in the Europa League next season. Woody Johnson, the owner of NFL franchise the New York Jets, wants to buy Textor's stake in Palace, according to BBC Sports sources. For more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
All right, welcome back from that update we had from the English Premier League. That's talking about everything we need to know pertaining that English football. But definitely we move on now and talk about the FIFA Club World Cup, which is set to begin. That's on the 15th of this month. That's in the early hours of Sunday down to the 13th of July. 32 teams, remember, they are participating at the expanded edition of the FIFA Club World Cup, with the first game is set to go down between Al Ahly and Inter Miami. But then, just as we've been clamoring on, well, it is about the statement by who? That's the FIFA president, there's Giannis Infantino, who says the Club World Cup, which kicks off on Saturday in the early hours of Sunday, marks a historic new era for the game, comparing it to the first World Cup held in the year 1930. And then for Olivier Giroud also, he has come out to say that, well, the FIFA Club World Cup is a chance to showcase Major League Soccer as the tournament kicks off this weekend. When I say Major League Soccer, it is abbreviated MLS, where, of course, the likes of Olivier Giroud, they are trading their game. Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, they are trading their game at this point in time. But we live to see what that definitely brings upon us. But then, quickly in football, the France football, that's the organizers of the prestigious individual award, the Ballon d'Or, they have announced the date for the unveiling the nominees for the 2025 edition of the award. Well, the body made the announcement via their official X account, formerly known as Twitter, stating the list of nominees will be unveiled on the that's on the 7th of August, and the list is usually made up of 30 players, which will be whittled down to select the winner on September 22nd. Well, remember that Rodri, the Manchester City midfielder, is the defending champion of this. He won it ahead of Vinicius Jr., which definitely sparked lots of controversy also around the debate around who is the rightful owner of the Ballon d'Or, who should have won the Ballon d'Or title that was last year. But we'll leave football stories now and quickly talk about athletics, where Karsten Wahlholm, Julian Alfred, and Amadou Duplantis, well, the lead up yesterday's star-studded Diamond League meet in Oslo, where the Jamaican sprint legend Usain Bolt was on hand to lend a further glitter to the gripping evening that's on the track and field. Well, definitely, you tell that it was a good one for these stars who definitely shined yesterday. And but for one man, Duplantis, he notched up his 36th victory in 40 Diamond League outings, clearing that's a vault off for 6.15 meters before calling it a day as temperatures dipped. Well, it's definitely a good one, and it was a meeting record for Mondo Duplantis. And then we'll leave that also and talk about tennis stories, where China's Zheng Qinwen, she survived the scare to reach the Queen's Club quarterfinals as the Chinese top seed defeated that Makateni Kessler 6-3, 4-6, 7-5 yesterday. Well, definitely a good one for the Chinese lady. Also for Emma Raducanu, she also cruised into the quarterfinals at the Queen's Club Championship with a 6-4, 6-1 victory over Rebecca Stramkova. That's yesterday. But Katie Butler and Ita Watson were knocked out of the competition. We're talking about some men's tennis. Also, German top seed Alexander Zverev defeated Corentin Moutet at 6-2, 7-6 yesterday to reach the Stuttgart Open quarterfinals, staying on course in his Wimbledon tune-up after a quarterfinal run there at the Roland Garros, which definitely is a good one also for that Alexander Zverev. Well, we'll move away from that to talk about boxing stories for the promoter of Anthony Joshua. Well, he has said Anthony Joshua could stop fighting next year. He admitted that Joshua could have only 3 more fights left. Remember, for Anthony Joshua is presently, definitely maybe out of the boxing bout at this point in time, just because he had a surgery. And then you tell that N has guided the British boxer professional career since he won the Olympic Games gold medal there in London in the year 2012, a place where he calls home. Probably 2026 will be his last year in the sport. That's according to at the end. But we are not sure about all of that. But quickly moving away from that, also we discuss about some Nigerian sporting stories where Tinubu Kokowa, you talk about this man. He has been re-elected as the Athletics Federation of Nigeria's president. So they also inaugurated new board and key appointments. Quickly before I leave the show, we talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria. Well, they have maintained their position as the highest ranked women's football team in Africa. That's according to the latest FIFA Women's World Ranking released yesterday. Ranked at 6th globally with a total of 1,623.29 points. The 9-time Women's African Cup of Nations title winners. Well, they continue to assert their dominance on the continent, reaffirming their status as the gold standard in African women's football. Well, how sure are you by that statement? Well, for the Super Falcons of Nigeria, they are not the defending champions of the Women's African Cup of Nations. So that is something in which they have the ambition to do at this point in time. Mission X, that's what it has been termed. It has been dubbed. Going into this year's edition of the Women's African Cup of Nations there in Morocco. But then for South Africa, who impressed at the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup by reaching the round of 16, remains Africa's second best team and ranked at 54th globally. Morocco, another rising force following their historic World Cup knockout stage appearance, is third in Africa and the 60th worldwide. Cameroon, followed closely by Zambia, Ghana, and then you talk about Ivory Coast, Mali, Senegal, and Algeria. They complete the Africa's top 10. Well, for Egypt, well, I'll tell that they made a significant stride, jumping 7 places to 93rd, one of the biggest moves in the latest edition of the women's FIFA standing. Remember that for the women's ranking, it is released that every 3 months. But this is the way in which we are at this point in time. But this is how far we can go on today's edition of the program. We'll come later in the afternoon on Scoreboard Related. When we come to definitely reload all the headlines to make it around today in the exciting world of sports. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. I say do enjoy the rest of the day. And coming up next on the hour mark is